Which is which? Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Archive Wave 1. And I have a lot to say about what people have been posting about these, but I'm just going to start this out by saying, hey, look, some more Star Wars figures just in case you missed them. Some upgrades, some custom fodder. That's the way I look at it. Plus, I'm a fan of the blister cards. I don't know why. Maybe it's childhood. Maybe it's nostalgia. Even though these are blister carded with the Black Series flavor to it. It's the black and white, pretty drawn picture here. It's minimalistic. There's some gray, there's some black, and that's about it. It shows the original release packaging on the back. Bio for the character. Some warnings, some unreadables. But to me, it wouldn't break my heart if they went to these. In fact, it'd make it harder to steal. You gotta rip the whole bubble off and then try to seal it back on. I'm sure it's easier to manufacture in the boxes with the slide-out trays. Packages like this, you can definitely tell if it's been tampered with or not, unless you are damn fantastic at gluing bubbles back on. There's something to be said about the vintage carded figures. Again, nostalgia. I just love these things, and these kind of bring me back around to here. But here's you another chance at the X-Wing Luke, in case you didn't make it to the Star Wars Celebration in, what year was that, 2017? So, let's get rid of this, and... oh, I didn't really throw it. Shh. And while I think it's a tie between these two for the least amount of changes, I'm going to go with Boba Fett first, just because... it's Boba Fett. Yeah! And oh yeah. We're going to be fine-tooth combing it. When I was comparing the two side by side a minute ago, if I had just tossed them and tried to pick out which one was the new one and which one was the original, I would have had a hard time picking it out. To be honest, this original figure, it's got a pretty good sculpt. It looks like a dude in a helmet. Everything's pretty crisp as far as the armor goes. The wrinkles, the pouches, this cord going up from the gauntlet into the sleeve. Got the rocket on this side, this antenna or whatever it is down here, the number pad to open up his garage door, the knee pads, those tools down on his shin pockets. Yeah, we have some alternatives that are a little bit better looking than this, but if you are just Black Series only, this is not a bad Boba Fett. Have the cloth cape, it's still a little bit stiff. Maybe you can wash it, maybe you can get, it get to hang a little bit more naturally. As is, it looks like it was folded wet and then put away. But you can see the buckles back here, painted fairly nicely. Again, the back of those gauntlets have some nice paintwork on them. And then there's even a little gunk to the legs right here, which kind of contradicts the rest of the pants. Here's some clean spot. Here's a little bit of darker right here on those front leg pouches. Back to clean, back to dirty. Maybe he's been, going through the mud, just knee high. But here's the big thing, the comparison. Yeah. Which one's which? I thought at first, oh, there's some printing to the silver up there on the helmet. Then I realized, especially getting the old one down off the shelf, it has the same kind of hatch marks in it. And it's damn near identical, so it's the same process as the original figure. The new one, the mud down at the calves and the shins, it's a little bit more prominent than the original. The biggest difference on mine, you can see that the skull on the shoulder pad is a little bit higher on the new one, lower on the original. And I guess that's all one big tempo because you can see the silver's also higher. This one's missing the dent, whereas this one's right down in the dent. I feel like this is the right positioning here. You can also see this silver forms a corner. This one is down on the corner of the armor. So I think it's supposed to be down this low. They just missed on this one. Kind of the same thing on the other shoulder pad, but the new one this time around is centered a little bit better on the dent. The new jetpack, the old jetpack, it's pretty much the same. That's why I haven't put the jetpack on, to tell them apart. The good thing about them reissuing this, though, besides the fact I may make a Finn Shisa or a Toby Dala out of it, is the weapons that I lost on mine a long time. I don't know where they went. So I get his blaster, some silver work on there. I like the detail work down here on the stock. Even have a different color for the pistol grip. And then the blaster for his holster. Is this the Disintegrator blaster or something? I can't even remember, but nice silver work to here. And then the rest is just brown round plastic. I just remembered I have this I could compare it to, so if I pop this off, open this up, get a look at what's inside here, it looks like the blasters are about the same. It is a disintegrator pistol, his Blastech EE3, and comparing those two, yeah, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Silver may be a little bit more silvery. Let's put this back away just for the hell of it. I don't know why I never opened it. I guess because I had the standard Boba Fett. Plus, I just like having the extra shit, I guess. Now, if you never got the original Black Series Boba Fett or the San Diego exclusive, and you're wondering, let's go over articulation just for the pure hell of it. There's a ball joint going up into the skull with a hinge at the neck, so you get pretty good range up. He can put his chin down. A little bit of tilt, swivel. Antenna does not move. It's in fixed position right there. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder. Shoulder goes out. Swivels around. Swivel right above the elbow. Elbow is hinge and swivel. Bring it up to not quite 90. Swivels, but you don't want to get too crazy with it because of this cable running up to here, which is at a swivel too. So it doesn't really matter. Two swivels right there close together. You also have a swivel at the gauntlet, so you can turn that in different directions. In fact, when I got this out of the package, this was turned around all odd to the front, and I thought, wait a second, why the hell does it look like that? I tried to swivel it, the elbow moved with it, then I realized, oh, separate part. Hinge and swivel at the wrist, side to side, twist. The new one has heavier detents at the waist swivel for whatever reason, but it is a ball. You can get not a lot of forward, a little bit of back, a little bit of side to side, not much. One of the things people were hoping for were for these pouches to be a little bit softer to get out of the way of the legs. Unfortunately, they're still just as thick. They do not get out of the way. You can get the leg up to about right there, back, out, swivel at the thigh, right above the pouch. Double knee, almost reach it. There you go. Reaches his ass. Hinge at the ankle, back, forward, not so much. Forward facing pin for rocker. For comparison, here he is with the Bandai Star Wars model kit Boba Fett and the Mayfix Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. I really have to go with the Mayfix, but again, every time I pick up the Black Series, I like it a little bit more, but not enough to beat the Mayfix. That is Boba Fett to me. Next up, let's take a look at Bossk. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. And here we have another case of, whoop, which one? Oh no, which one's which? But again, I feel like this is a great plastic representation of the character from the movie, Bossk, you know? But this is just an amazing figure still. It's a couple years old, but with the straps hanging down like it is, the articulation mostly like it is, it still holds up to this day. So Hasbro just doing straight up reissues, it's not bad here. The lizard scales, you have a kind of a wash to it, make it look a little bit dirty. Not, I guess you could say realistic, but it works as a nice contrast to the rest of the suit. Which, the yellow here and the white is a little bit clean, but I'm okay with that too. Because you bring in the old Bossk, it's essentially the exact same thing. If anything, the old Bossk had more of a willy-nilly wash to it. Some darker spots, some lighter. This feels a little bit more even. Don't get me wrong, you can still see some darker here, some lighter here, but it transitions just a little bit better. Or maybe they're using a lighter type wash. It's not as just blatantly all over it. In fact, overall, the new one's paint job is just a little bit cleaner. But for whatever reason, they took this color on this one and put it down here on this one. That's the only big change I can actually see. Well, besides that and these straps being a different color, this color up here is the same for the straps. The strap on the old one is just the same gray plastic as the rest of it up to here. One of the things that I thought was maybe just mine back in the day, I think I did a review of Bossk originally, but I was a terrible reviewer. Not that I'm great now, but I'm hoping I'm a little bit better. On the original, it looks like his jaw is gapped right here, almost like the peg is out of the peg hole. This side, it looks pretty good. The transition, not that bad. You can just see the outline, but man, this side looked like somebody jacked his jaw. Unfortunately, with the new one, same gap. So I guess that's how it's manufactured. Nice on this side, not so nice on this side. The new one, not as smooth. It kind of wants to close back up on me. The original stays where you want it to. And you can see when you try to close the jaw, it kind of shifts that way, which is okay. Maybe he got in a fight with a Wookiee. I don't know. But articulation wise, below the jaw, there is a hinge and swivel at the bottom of the neck behind this collar piece, which kind of gets in the way. So you can get a little bit up, a little bit forward, not a lot of tilt. Swivel, hinge and swivel at the shoulder, swivels around. Hinge at the elbow, maybe 45, some vintage style movement there. Swivel, hinge and swivel at the wrist, gun shooting hand, even though he can't hold a gun in that hand, but it goes up and down, swivels, but it is up and down on the gun holding hand too. Ball joint in the mid-torso below this flight vest looking thing, but not a lot of range there. Does get some turn, nothing else. Hinge and swivel at the hips, you can come up, back, out, swivel at the thigh. Double knee, because of the thickness of the pants and such, he can get up to about right there. Do have a swivel at the boot where it turns lizard down there. Hinge at the ankle, back, his little claw thing right there gets in the way. Forward facing pin for rocker. He does come with a blaster. It's uniquely Bossk's blaster. It's got this plastic strap on it that doesn't really act like a cloth strap. It goes right back into position. And comparing it to the original is kind of a more glossy black. The new one is more matte. There's also a big ass bend into it, so I'll have to heat that up. And in case this is your first encounter with Bossk, here he is with the recently released Star Wars Black Series Zuckuss and Dengar. He's a good size. I like the height on him here. Height. Next up, we get into a figure where you can see the differences a little bit better. IG-88. We'll do him next. Carefully. Yeah. Okay, honestly, I do give this figure a hard time, a lot, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But looking at it sculpt-wise, shape-wise, it's damn fantastic. They did do a great job with the sculpted details. It's very mechanical looking. It's very droid looking. It's very assassin looking. I mean, it looks like what it did in the movie. There's some rubber lines running down to the legs, separate pieces. There's also these covers. Some of the articulation, again, we'll look at here in a minute, is innovative, but then you will also miss out on some of the articulation it could have had. You can see the red hiding in several spots on the head. But the biggest difference this time around is the patina. The new one is just a lot lighter color up in here, whereas the old one, more of a darker gunmetal color. In fact, more of just a single color overall. This one has some shades of silver, some shades of gold, some just very, again, mechanical look to it. I don't know which one's right. In fact, I kind of like the look of both of them. One can be IG-87, one can be IG-88, or was it IG-89? I don't know, the other one from the comics or books or wherever. But another thing people were hoping Hasbro would change, and they didn't, are these rubber covers on the elbows. Bent, you can see that rubber piece kind of folding up under it. It's getting out of the way. It works like it's supposed to. But the old one being several years old now, you can see on my original where it's cracking just from being stressed in the display over the years. And it also has that feeling of, oh, it's kind of sticky. But for whatever reason, if you look at the legs, the old one seems really close together. It was always kind of hard to stand because the feet were right up on each other. I don't think they actually changed anything, but on the new one, it's further apart. It's a little bit more stable overall. The old one can get a little bit wobbly. Still wobbling. Maybe it's just how the original was in the package, because if I hold the legs together on the new one, it kind of looks like the old one. The new one's just packaged a little bit better. Either way, I like how this one stands better. These are also rubber pieces right here, but I don't have as much problem with those. The biggest thing are the elbow covers. I don't know, maybe it's because they've been stressed, but they will stay in that position from now until they rot off. That's what it's essentially doing, is rotting. For articulation, there's a swivel at the head. The shoulders are kind of cool. There is a hinge on the end of a swivel with this cap cover right here. So this doesn't actually move, but inside of that, which you have to get it lined up. If you have this turned a little bit, it acts like it wants to tear at it. But once you get that, it can come up to there. Those also rotate all the way around. There is a hinge at the elbow, comes up to about right there. Then that swivels. This whole thing in the middle is a hinge that you can bring forward to about right there. Arc back, swivels. Most disappointing point of articulation here are the hips. They just swivel forward, swivel back. There is no out to them, but there is a swivel at the thigh. The knee is, well, way down here. Gets to about right there. I hate to go any further, which I don't think it can. Oh no, wait, there is. It looks like there are double knees right there, but the tops on both of mine don't seem to want to go. It almost looks like it's painted in there. Even if I wanted to go double knee far, I get to here, and on this side, this rubber cord wants to just pull. That is tight right there. I'm afraid if I go any further, that's going to snap. And then at the ankles, you have forward and back movement. So some cool articulation, some hindered articulation, but for a droid that was standing in the back that never even moved, I guess this is okay. For accessories, he comes with this blade, nice chipping to it. It's got that same patina on the handle. With that, you can slide it into this backpack. Come through the two holes, and that's where mine will stay from now on, probably. He comes with this longer rifle, again, exactly like the original, but you will notice there is a hole right here. And on IG-88's hand, there is a peg, and he's not actually holding it with his hand, or his pincher, or his grabby. It's actually sitting on that peg. But standing on the shelf, yeah, that looks great. But then we get to this blaster, and at first you think, oh, it's the same as the original, and that is actually wrong. The new one is bigger than the old one. Essentially the same sculpt, just enlarged. Also, while the original had one hole in the back of the gun, the new one has two holes in the back of the gun. And then on his right hand, he has two pegs. But that's also the case for the original. So I don't know if that was the plan back then or what. Peg that on. Again, he's holding it. It stays. It works great. And it fits into this back thing just a little bit better. If you push a little bit, it pinches on it. It stays in there. Oh, I've switched the IG-88. See how easy this is? I'm putting shit on the old one and messing with the old one when I should be looking at the new one. The blaster does go into the backpack, stays tight. It works. But saying all that, here's my biggest quibble. The size. Here he is with the Black Series Forlom and Dengar, and I just feel like the IG-88 should be bigger. In the movie, he's kind of back, but he's also down a step. He just looks a little bit larger even in the background. The Hasbro one, it just seems a little bit skinny. A little bit small. And then finally, let's take a look at X-Wing Luke. Now, he's actually been released a couple times, like I said, at Celebration, but not everyone could get that Celebration one, and not everyone opened that Celebration one. Big old detents in the ankles. First up, let's get this out of the way right off the bat. I have the camera right up on it. The new one right here is a little bit shiny. You can see the pixels in the face printing tech. It looks a little bit weird on the nose, but at normal distance, it does look better than the old painted version. There's just a realism to it, and it's not perfect Luke. In fact, I joked about it during a weekly, but it does look like the holiday special Luke. But again, I can't help thinking it's a little bit better than the old one. But that old one did have a nicer paint job than we saw in the Black Series for several years after this. As different as it looks, the new one is the exact same sculpt as the old one. That's how much of a difference a paint job or a photo reel makes. They did a good job with the rest of the body too. Very flight suit. It's accurate to the movie. I never cared for the forearm and the glove being all cast in black, where the orange looks a little bit off going from here to here. And another difference to point out, the white on the new one, it's a little bit smudgy, a little bit bleedy all the way up. It's not very crisp. The old one wasn't perfect, but it was a little bit better. Otherwise, we're looking at the exact same figure. Again, for, what is this, 2013? What year is this, 2019? For a 5-6-year-old figure, the overall action figure holds up. Got a hinge going up to a ball in the neck, can look up, can look down, swivel, tilt, hinge and swivel at the shoulder, comes up, swivels around, hinge and swivel at the elbow, comes up to about 90, swivels, hinge and swivel at the wrist, up and down for gun shooting, ball joint mid-torso, so he can get nice range of movement. I will say this is a little bit softer than the original, just by a bit, just to point out a difference. To get full range of the legs, you got to kind of bring these straps up a little bit, because you leave them down, they pull. They get tight about right there. You can come up all the way, back out about right there, swivel at the thigh, double knee, baggy pants, don't come all the way up, swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle, back, forward, not that great, and then forward facing pin. Luke comes with a blaster. It's got some brown, got some silver. It is bent a little bit. I'll have to heat that up, but it is exactly the same as the original. He comes with a helmet, nice translucent yellow there on the front. He's got this chin strap that doesn't really, you would think, oh, that gets in the way. Get it to there, get the chin strap on, and that looks pretty good. Luke's helmet always looked like it swallowed up his head. And again, it's essentially the same as the original. Mine, on the original, the lines weren't lined up with the sculpt on top. The new one, it curves off a little bit the other way, but it's much better lining up on the ridge right there. And then finally you get a lightsaber, nice silver, the black down here on the handle, the blade. The original was more of a turquoise greenish blue. The new one, I know my background is blowing this all to hell, but the new one, much more blue. And then for comparison, I've always thought of the X-Wing Luke as being a little bit short, but it does line up pretty good with the Hasbro just Tatooine Luke. And then definitely shorter than the Figure Arts Luke, which is a little bit weird when you think about it. Figure Arts usually runs a little bit smaller. So at the end of the day, I think this is a great idea on Hasbro's part. This past year, they finished off the bounty hunters with Forlom, Zuckuss, and Dengar. And if I remember right, Bossk and IG-88 were even hard to get when they were out. So people coming in late into the line or miss those original releases, they can now go, oh, I can get these 3 bounty hunters, I'll go pick up the other 3 and be done with the whole set. And X-Wing Luke being X-Wing Luke, it's a good version of Luke. It's from back in the line, and they could show off their face printing. Yes, it's not perfect in the face, but it does look better than the original. On top of that, if you want to pick up X-Wing Luke and make like a Rhodian pilot or some kind of alien species that is a little bit shorter than actual humans, because at first I wanted to say Wedge or Biggs, but them all being the same size, I want them to be a little bit taller. The other three, if you have the originals, you can still pick up a Bossk, make a Bossk. IG-88 works as multiple assassin droids. Boba Fett, if you already have a Boba Fett, you can make a Jodo cast, or like I said, a Finn Shaisa, Toby Dala, just any other Mandalorians. So it's a good evergreen wave for people who missed out. It's a good custom fodder wave for people who are into that kind of thing. It's a nice little offshoot wave that's in their own little packages that don't mess with the main waves. And I have heard people say that they've been in it since the beginning. Why is Hasbro devaluing their collection by reissuing some of the harder to finds? Because Hasbro wants to make money. I mean, why wouldn't they want to release stuff to make more collectors happy? I'm not trying to take anything away from how anybody collects. I'm just not profit oriented. I just want cool toys. I want Star Wars characters. I want cheap fodder. I want more people in the line so this line will continue. And I think this is the way to go with this kind of thing. But that may be just me. I don't know. I just buy toys. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.